Godfather. Pulled up to the scene in a 65 Bentley, dripped in Brioni, China doll with me, looking like a supermodel. Oh, what a feeling. 25 years old, 25 million. Today's the audition for the Godfather part. My life's already a movie, so when do I start? I walk up in Patsy's East 119th Street. Fat Tony Salerno gets a kiss on the cheek. I know my way around, not my first time here. Been doing overnight cigarette loans for 10 years. I say hello to Danny Pagano and Tough Tony. Nicky Domino gives me a nod, they all know me. They ask why I'm there so early, I say the part. They say what part? I say the movie, why not? I don't look like Carlo, they all begin laughing. 3 p.m. ready for the lights, cameras, action.
My name is Gianni Russo, a.k.a. Carlo, the infamous son-in-law from The Godfather. I'm now known as the Hollywood Godfather, and this is my story.
Before all of the wins in my portfolio, I was a little boy diagnosed with polio.
Welcome, everybody, to another Hollywood Godfather podcast. I'm here with my compadre, Pat, and our special correspondent coming from Gracie Mansion. Pat, make the intros, please.
Okay. First of all, hi, everybody. We have gotten quite a few emails about our guest wanting to know more. So today we have Donna Presley on. This is Elvis Presley's cousin, and she was on about a month ago. And apparently, Donna, you're a hit.
Well, great. That's awesome. I love it.
And primarily, we had quite a few questions, but the one that came to the top and was asked most often is about your youth with Elvis.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So take it away, Donna.
Which I'm proud of. That's probably the most asked question, right?
Yeah, it is. It's the most asked question.
Is it?
Yeah.
About my just want to know about my youth with Elvis. Okay.
Well, that's where we start.
Well, yeah, okay. You mentioned on the last show you've lived there since you're 8 years old. My memory.
I did. Yes. Well, from the time I was 10 years old, I spent all my summers at Graceland. Our grandmother lived with Elvis, and so I'm originally from Missouri. So I would go every summer when school was out, and I would stay at Graceland from the time I was 10. Then when I was about 15, Elvis asked me and my mom and my dad into the dining room, and he said, we love having Donnie here with us, and so we want her to move in with us, and you can come visit her whenever you want. I'll send her to school. I'll buy her a car. When she graduates from high school, I will help her get into whatever she wants to. Well, I'm sitting here over the moon thinking, yes, awesome. And my mother goes, no. So
Elvis never asked me.
My little girl, she's going home with, I'm sorry.
Elvis never asked me to move in and take care of all my expenses. and he sure as hell never bought me a car, unless it's in the garage, and I just never looked. I haven't been there in a while. But
there you go. Maybe it is.
There you go. Go ahead.
But anyway, when I was 17, he bought the Circle G Ranch in Walls, Mississippi. And my family and I moved on to that. And we lived there from 67 to 69. And then he sold it. So we moved onto the grounds of Graceland. And I lived there till I was grown and moved out on my own. And my parents lived there till 1982, which was several years after Elvis's death. So I was around a lot.
So they stayed there soon after long after you passed. Also, right?
I'm sorry?
You said your parents lived there after he passed on?
After he passed, yeah. They lived there till 1982, and he died in 1977.
Really?
But they opened the house to the public at that time, and that's when they moved off.
Uh-huh. The question, while we're talking about that, you were around the Memphis Mafia.
Yes.
and all his friends that comprised it. I mean, his musicians. Well, these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I never had anybody to ask. I mean, I wouldn't tell, I wasn't that close to Priscilla to begin with. I've seen her and been in a company, which would be a long time. What were you thinking of why these guys didn't save him? Those prescriptions were all made out to them.
Yes, they were. That's kind of a hard question to answer. Elvis had his demons. He had problems, and when he went into the service in the Army, his life kind of changed totally because he was used to being up all night and sleeping in the daytime, and when he went to the service, it changed, and so he kind of had to get used to doing that, and it became a vicious circle, and it kind of overtook him. And it's not that people, the family certainly tried, but
Right.
Elvis was Elvis, and he was going to do what
nobody
he was going to do.
No,
And you don't. I think when people are in that, they don't really realize the depth of the problem sometimes.
See, Elvis did me a big favor when I came back to America after the assassination of the Kennedys. I went to Vegas and I opened a club in the Tropicana Hotel called Tiffany's. Elvis was working for a friend of mine called Kirk Kerkorian, and he opened the International Hotel, which I'm sure you're very much aware of.
Right.
And that was the last 2 weeks of July. Barbra Streisand opened for the 2 weeks prior, then he went in. So I met Elvis in 1961.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, he's in my show. I have to show you, like the show I'm doing this weekend.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Yeah.
I got to send you the photographs. But why I'm bringing it up, I was invited down with Frank Sinatra and a very good friend of mine, a mob guy, a Jewish mob guy, and they were filming this NBC special of Sinatra welcoming Elvis back to the country.
Right.
And they had friction up until that point because Frank didn't really like Elvis.
Really?
Nobody knew that, but
yeah.
But when he was asked to do this, it was such an honor, and they got so close, and I was a witness to so many of those things, because when Sinatra, Sinatra was doing Elvis's material in that special, and Elvis was doing Sinatra's material,
doing Frank's, right?
And it was so, and I have all the clips. I have the clips, all the outtakes. So with that said, I got to know him that well. And then when he went to work for Kurt, I sent an invitation to, Suite 3000, where he maintained the roof.
Right.
And I said, I have a limousine out at the end of the show, 2 o'clock. Come to the club. And we really got close because, once he's working, he don't go to bed until at 7 or 8, after we watch a couple of cowboy movies and do whatever else he wants to do. And then, Elias Ghanem, that was his doctor. So
yes.
That's why I asked that question. And it always bothered me that why didn't somebody step in? They saw the difference in his weight. They saw everything. And somebody should have gotten in touch.
Elvis was very, he had a lot of medical problems. And, he took medication for that. And, not to either condemn what he, anything or to raise that, that it was okay. But, Elvis was Elvis, and he was going to do what he was going to do. And unfortunately, his heart gave out, and every one of the Presley family, every member of the Presley family, has died with congestive heart failure. Every single one.
Wow.
And that's what he died from.
Well, I knew that he had that problem because of Elias.
Yeah.
And that's why then, everything that he was doing as a pleasurable thing was killing him.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing of it. You don't often realize, the depths of destruction that your lifestyle, brings to you. And unfortunately, that happens to a lot of people, and you're, to be honest, I think that, entertainers have a very hard life sometimes.
Oh my God, it's very lonely.
In that, in that all that they do. And with Elvis, he was the most loved and adored person that on this earth, just about.
And he gave
to have that
when he was with them too.
Yeah, he gave. Yeah, he he gave so much of himself, he just didn't have anything left over for himself.
Yeah.
So it's because he gave everything away.
I hope you don't mind me
his
asking
own,
that question, but it bothered me.
on life, you know.
Yeah.
So what was an average day like when you were growing up? You're there, he moves you in, you're going to school, local school, private school, public school. What was it?
No, I went to public school, and I come home, and it really depended. If Elvis was at home, it was controlled chaos. You never knew what was going to happen. They'd be out riding horses or riding on the golf cart, swimming, whatever he wanted to do, riding motorcycles, whatever he wanted to do. Then everybody pretty much went with him. Of course, I was younger than he was, and I was in school, so I didn't go a lot of those places. And all of my interaction came with either at Graceland or at the Circle G, or if like the whole family went somewhere. Because like on New Year's Eve, he would a lot of times would rent out places in Memphis, and everybody would go, and I would go to those. And I remember a couple of times when Ronnie Milsap was playing. It was the entertainment.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. He was very giving and loving, and he loved to laugh. He loved practical jokes. So it was awesome. That's about the best way I can describe it.
When you made friends at school, when you first started there, and everybody makes school friends,
Right.
were you permitted to have them over to Graceland?
I could. I didn't. There were very.
I don't blame you. You have a
people.
bus outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody wanted to be my friend. No, you learn, especially growing up in a famous family like that. You kind of learn who wants to be your friend, to be your friend, and who actually wants to use you for something.
Right.
So there were very few people that I took to Grace. Very few, maybe 2, maybe 3 at the most.
Now, I'm reflecting on your childhood, being under such a microscope, do you feel you missed out on anything?
No, I don't think so. I'm extremely blessed to have grown up in such a wonderful, loving, caring, famous family. I didn't miss out on anything. I mean, I had lots of friends. I dated. I went to school functions. So it was pretty much an ordinary childhood, except I just happened to have some most famous person on the planet related to me.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Well, it's amazing because Pat's keeping me up to speed of all that you're doing besides in your tours. And do you attribute that because of your past, or this on your own accolades and because I heard you sing and do all this. I want to catch your show.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that's something that's funny because it's something I've just started recently doing in the last years is singing. But,
Really?
I feel almost like it's a calling for me to travel around the world and let people know what Elvis was really like and the family was like. He's as famous today as he ever was.
Oh, no. I mean, he's an icon forever.
Yeah. Loved and adored by millions and millions all over the world. So to me, to be able, especially when I go to Europe, I love going to Europe because European fans are just
for performers.
Oh, they're just awesome. They love him so much, and that extends to the entire family. And so to me, it's a calling. It's something I feel like I need to do. I have to do to let people know what he was like, what the family was like, because there's so many stories out there about the kind of person that he was. And I just think it's important for people to realize what a wonderful, wonderful man and role model that he was and is still today. I mean, he had his faults. We all have our faults, and he had his problems, as all of us do. But, he did his job. He did it with integrity, with passion, with love, and he gave all of that and is still giving it through his music and movies and so forth, and the kind of person that he was. So to me, it's important for me to just carry that on.
That's great.
Were you there on that terrible night when he passed away?
No, I was at home with my children. I had my son, my oldest son was 3 and my youngest son was 11 months. And my mother called me and she was crying uncontrollably. And I kept trying to get her to tell me what was wrong. And she said, the only thing she said was, pray for Elvis, pray for Elvis, pray for Elvis. No, and I said, what's wrong? She said, just pray for Elvis. So growing up in a God-fearing and faith-filled family, I took my 2 little boys into the living room and I kneeled down in the floor, and I didn't know what I was praying for. I just knew that Elvis needed my prayers. And so I started praying. About 20 minutes later, my mom called and she was all to pieces. And she said, it's too late, baby. It's too late. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, it's Elvis. And I said, what's wrong with him? And she said, he's gone. And she said, come to Graceland immediately. Wow. So I got a babysitter, next door neighbor for my children. And I went to Graceland, and it was horrific, horrible. I can imagine. I walked in the back door like I always did. And I walked to my grandmother's room because that's where we always went to. And Uncle Vernon was sitting outside the door of my grandmother's room, and he was on the phone. And I walked over and I kneeled down beside him or in front of him. And I just hugged him and told him, we both cried, and he said, I don't know how we're going to live without him. I don't know how I'll make it. And I literally sat there, and the rest of Uncle Vernon's life, I watched him just die from grief. Literally. Every breath he took was a struggle.
Well, they were so close, my God.
Yeah, they were very close. And, a lot of people, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, Gianni. Thank you, because a lot of people, talk about how close he was with his mother. And he was, of course, he adored his mother. But, I like for people to realize that he was is just as close to his dad. And they had a wonderful relationship. Yeah, loving, very loving.
Yeah, I met Brian a couple of times when he came to the International.
Yeah. He was a great guy. He was so funny, but he had a very dry sense of humor, Wow. And he could say something and everybody else is laughing, and he's sitting there wondering, looking at you like you lost your mind. So he was awesome.
I could remember when he would walk through the casino, you would think it was Elvis because everybody knew who he was. It was like the respect they gave him was amazing.
Yeah. He was, he was a wonderful man, a really wonderful man. And the last 6 months of his life, I worked for him in the office there at Graceland. And I got really, really close to him. And I'm really thankful for that time, because as I was growing up, you're close to him, but you don't spend that much time with him on a daily basis. I saw him every day, and it's we became very close, and I'm very, very blessed to have that time with him.
So for the audience, if they went to see your show, that's what the show is about? The whole show?
Yes. I talk about Elvis. I tell stories. I answer questions. And then I sing his music.
Oh, really? What songs do you sing? That should be interesting.
Well, let's see. When I was touring in Sweden, I did 3 songs. Let It Be Me, Sentimental Me, and shucks. Trying to think of the other song now. Mess of Blues.
Okay, good. And listen, I can't wait to see your show.
I want to see yours as well. So.
Oh no, please.
Well, our audience, Donna, is all over the world, and perhaps you should tell us where you're going to go next, where you're touring.
Oh yes, actually. I'm doing a show in Germany, May the 19th, and with Dennis Jail. And then we fly to Italy, and then we do a 9-day Mediterranean cruise. It's called the TCB cruise. And it'll be me, Linda Thompson, Sam Thompson, who worked with Elvis, Glendy Harden, who was Elvis's piano player, Paul Lime, who's the drummer. And
still around though, huh? Geez, that's great.
Yeah, and Donna Rhodes and Ginger Holiday, who sang backup for Elvis. So we'll all be on the cruise, and it'll be a great time. Yeah.
I remember the Blossoms being there. That's how far I go back. That's wild. That's great. Well, even the musicians and everything, that's really pulling the show together, because you have the heart of the band is it. Now you got them working with you too. That's perfect.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and they tell stories, and it's amazing to hear. Not only the stories about, you've got Linda who lived with him, who was his girlfriend, and I love Linda. She's amazing, and I think I wished he had married her. And then you've got the guys that work for him, and you've got family member, and then you've got band members and backup singers. So it covers the whole spectrum. So it's a great time.
How many minutes is the show?
It's about an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's what I do. 80 minutes. That's what casinos want. They don't want nobody else. Want 80 minutes, which is great. No, I'm really happy for you, and I'm actually, I didn't realize the musicians are with you also. So you're giving so much back of Elvis, even on your stage. There's so many.
Well, that's the whole point. Is to give back to. Because he gave so much, to everybody else. And I get letters and, from all over the world, and that they just still adore Elvis, even if, a lot of them weren't even born when he was alive. But they love his music, and and they love, who he was and what he stood for, and his faith. He was never ashamed to stand up for his faith in God and his family values. And so, he's a good role model.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, it's amazing to even be talking to you, because, I got to know him on a totally different level. I even took one of those flights to San Francisco for those ridiculous sandwiches. No wonder why I just don't understand that bacon and peanut butter. I mean, he's nuts.
It's a heart attack waiting to happen. I know.
I know. My God. I did it once. And I said, no more. I ain't doing it. They said, why? I said, no. But just to hang out with him, I had very little experience with him over a couple, maybe I was in his company 10 times, but unforgettable times.
Yeah, he was funny. He loved to have a good time. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we had a major shootout up in
yeah, you told me about that. That's awesome.
There's about $10,000 worth of damage on the wall after we left. But he liked that. That he had that 45 with him everywhere.
Oh, I know. It's a Presley trait. We all carry it.
That's great. That's fabulous.
You still keep in touch with the Memphis Mafia, any of that group?
Well, some of them are with
say that again.
You keep in touch with the Memphis Mafia, his friends?
Well, actually, I'll be Sam Thompson, who was
the band players at Memphis Mafia.
Yeah. Well, the band players weren't, but the guys that travel with him, most of them are deceased now. But there's Sam Thompson. I'll be on tour with. I'll be on the cruise with him. So occasionally I keep in touch with them, but most of them have passed away, unfortunately.
Oh wow! Okay.
Johnny, what do you say we take a break here?
Oh, yeah, we'll make some money. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We know where you live.
We are pleased to announce the publication of a new book series from Gianni Russo and Patrick Piccarelli entitled The Sixth Family. When the alleged daughter of Marilyn Monroe asks for help, Gianni Russo becomes entangled in a web of lies and violence in the search for the late actress's diary. Soon, he is enmeshed in a mystery that involves a presidential candidate, a disgruntled mafia capo, a retired NYPD detective, and the past of mafia boss Frank Costello. Russo must race against the clock to stop a hostile reorganization of the American mafia while trying to stay one step ahead of a faceless killer. While listening to this book, skillfully read by Gianni himself, the listener will have to determine what is true and what is fiction. Or as Gianni says before this epic story begins, this book is a work of fiction, except for the parts that are true. Look out for the second installment of this exciting new series coming in 2023, The Sixth Family. Book 1 is available now on Amazon.com.
We are back. You are an amazing guest, though. Seriously.
Oh, well,
I mean,
you.
your energy level is phenomenal.
Well, thank you
The
so
history.
much.
I'm glad you're out there performing and sharing it because, like you said,
it's something I love doing. I come home and I'm home for a week or two and I'm ready to go back. It's just, it's just so much fun and I enjoy it, and I get to meet so many amazing people.
I'm not on the level that you are or Elvis, but that movie I made is The Godfather, so it opens every door in the world for me. But as you're experiencing, the foreign fans are so much more loyal to you than America is so calloused with so much. When you get, I was just in Sicily to do a show in October, and then we stopped in London. I can't wait to go back, but it's because they're warm. I had the privilege of taking over Sinatra's fan club in Liverpool. And I got their grandchildren now are my fans there. So it's a thing to do.
Yeah.
You're doing now. I mean, to carry that legacy is phenomenal.
Yeah. It's it's a blessing. And I read Hollywood Godfather. That's an amazing book. Let me tell you, you've lived a life now.
And you're still talking to me. Thank God you wrote the book, man. That's that book I did that book in a studio. And then since then we have our podcast. So I'm doing our other book, which is bigger than that book.
Yeah. I'm starting on this one, the sixth.
Pat will be happy to see. Pat, that's all that's left of the book.
Oh, wow. It's a realization that doing the audio was tougher than writing the book.
Well,
that's true.
Yeah, well, to read it, it's not like that.
Yeah, and to me, I don't hide from it. I'm basically uneducated. I never went to school.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Bellevue, they weren't teaching us because they thought they're going to die anyway.
Right.
So when I came out at 12, they tried to put me in reform school.
Wow.
And my fast thinking, I went to vocational school, became a hairdresser for 4 months, which made me introduced to Maryland. So where am I going?
Yeah. Like I said, you've lived a very interesting life.
Oh, yeah, no, it's been good.
And Donna, you talk about energy, or Gianni talks about energy. I have never met a more energetic person in my life. Every time I talk to this guy for the last 5 years, he's somewhere. He's in a car going here. He's somewhere going there. And he came up with a very good analogy when we first started going back and forth doing the first book. I was talking to him. I called him up. He's on his cell phone. And I said, "Are you in a car?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Where are you going?" And there was silence. He said, "Hold on a second." He's in a limousine. He knocks on a petition. "Where are we going?" So the driver tells him, and he gets back to me and he says, "If anybody ever wants to kill me, all I have to do is pull a limousine in front of my building, honk the horn a couple of times. I'll come running down, I'll hop in, and you'll never see me again." The guy is
not true.
On the move. Charity work mostly, which is commendable.
No, but
that's awesome. I'm on the board of a charity, Choosing to Live. It's about suicide prevention.
Oh my God!
Which is very close to my heart.
Yeah, and right now with all of this opioid and COVID.
Yes,
I mean it's peaked everywhere.
It has. And it's such a shame. I mean, and the thing of it is drugs have destroyed so many families across the world. And I think there's every family in the world has been touched one way or another, either by a friend or through family members with drug abuse.
There's no way
Absolutely.
in the world.
Not a doubt.
It's just too big. It's just too big. And I do a lot of work with special children and all that. And all I've been asked now is, how do we overcome this depression? How do you do it? Because they ask me, I'm doing interviews all the time. Nobody be depressed, Pat.
No. And that's another question.
Oh, great.
I need to ask you something you know about.
You know, the way, somebody once asked me, when COVID started to rear its ugly head, they said, we're going to go into social isolation for who knows how long. And the question to me was, how are you going to handle that? I said, I'm a writer. I've been socially isolated for the last 25 years.
No, but that's true, though. We learn to adjust. That's what
you have to.
And you just can't.
You have to.
No, and
I depend on my faith a lot, and family and friends
too.
to help me through.
I have altars in every one of my houses. I pray every day. I don't know how much I pray.
Absolutely.
That's what got me through.
That's what it takes. Because luckily, thank God that God gives us a joy and a peace that we don't have to worry about things.
Right. If you believe in them and understand the Bible.
Absolutely.
That's why I get up every day. What am I going to do today? Thank God. But I think one of the, and you're probably aware of this too now, most of these kids don't have a foundation that we have. They have these stupid tabloids or whatever they're walking around with. And they don't even talk to their brothers and sisters. They don't know how to communicate, which is going to be another major problem real soon.
Because, absolutely.
And I think that's, I don't know where it's going.
They are our future, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It is. Because you don't know what's going to happen. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to have you back again if you will have us, Donna.
Are you kidding? I'd love it.
All right. Yeah, you're a great. Hey, if anybody tunes us in and they're depressed, they take one look at you with your smile and your stories, and there goes the depression. Who needs prescription antidepressant medications? We have Donna Presley.
Thank you. That's very kind.
He just touched on something. You could be a depression remedy.
She is.
You should have an open line.
I'll tell you what. Let me give you my. I just got a new Facebook page, and it's called Donna Presley Official. So have everybody tune in. Join that, and they can ask me questions. I'll be happy to answer them.
Let me ask you a question. I don't know if your manager has told you about it. Do you know of Cameo?
Cameo?
It's called Cameo.
Cameo.
Why I'm bringing it up? You go to Cameo, have your manager go to Cameo. They register you on Cameo. I do joint meetings. They pay me $200 a minute.
Right.
A minute.
Well, I don't have a manager anymore, so I'll go to that and do it myself.
Well, anything you want to know about business, call me. I really,
I will do that.
I've cornered the market. But Cameo, I'm going to send you the app. You go on, just register it, and you could sing happy birthday to people. It's ridiculous. The least you can do.
Yeah, send it to me. I'd love to see it. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
I did an expandable meeting where you could join for 5 minutes. $500. I had 15 people come on screen, paid me $500. They had a chance to ask question, whatever.
Yeah.
Time was over. Do the math.
Yeah, you would be very
That sounds
popular.
like a plan. I like that.
Oh, she would be perfect. And you do it at your home. You go nowhere. It's on your phone. I'm going to send it to you.
This is sounding better and better.
Oh, I'm telling you, yeah. And to talk to you, I bet you'd have a following in a minute.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll check into that, definitely.
I'm going to send you the app to it.
Please do.
And you just go on and register. You'll be getting calls right away on it. It's amazing.
All right. Fantastic. I will.
I'll tell you one thing. They pay every month, right to PayPal, goes into your account. No problems.
Sounds like a plan to me.
And the money is paid before you talk to anybody. They collect it first before they give the code.
If there's a way to make money, Gianni will find it.
Well, I guess he's giving us all lessons then. That's awesome.
No, please. Well, it's always a joy. As Pat said, our audience enjoys you. We're getting the emails, and we know we spoke to you about periodically coming on. And I hope
Yes,
take us up on that.
I would love to. Absolutely. Be my pleasure.
And it's our pleasure and our audience's pleasure. God bless you. Have safe travels.
Thank you. You
And
too.
give us our schedules because we'll promote it. We get people in Germany, people all over the place.
There are people all over the world. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll send it to you.
Okay,
Great.
Don. Very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. We'll be right back, and we're going into the mailbag, one of the biggest parts of our show that we enjoy as much as you.
Plus, we don't have to do any work.
That's right.
This is Patrick Piccarelli, co-host of the Hollywood Godfather podcast. I'm also the president of Condo Security and Investigations, a full-time investigative and security firm established in 1988. We are located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with worldwide affiliates. Our business paradigm is simple: to provide the most professional services possible while maintaining an ethical standard and client satisfaction. Our areas of expertise include criminal and civil investigations, asset searches, surveillance, executive protection, question documents, background investigations, computer forensics, polygraph, and many other services. Our staff consists of former law enforcement professionals with hundreds of years of combined experience. Your initial consultation is free. Visit our website, www.condorprivateeye.com, or call 724-396-2808. Thank you.
Okay, we're back.
We're back. All right, folks, we've got mail. The first one is from Travis. Travis wrote a rather long email, so I'm just going to give you the highlights. He says he lives about 2 minutes from Joe Banana's grave. That's
great.
that's a
Where in Arizona?
A famous location. Yeah, Tucson.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've known you. I know you've mentioned on your show about your disappointment in Bonanno writing his book about the families. What is your opinion about the guys in the life embracing attention in the press? Would Capone, Bonanno, Gotti be the top three hounds in the life?
Well, that's their life. I don't have an impression of them. I mean, to me, they chose what they did.
No, I mean about seeking publicity.
Well, that's what happens.
Well, you know,
Well, do you think Capone seeked it?
Oh,
no.
He loved publicity. Oh yeah, he
they all know, but that's part of their life. Look at Gotti. I mean, he'd pose for the press and you tell him where he's going.
Well, that's what Capone would do, and that's what.
I know, but
Joe Bonanno, as far as the press goes and publicity, he kept his mouth shut till after he retired, and he had his book, and he went on 60 Minutes to push the book. Other than that,
Now you're talking about Joe or Bill Bonanno?
Joe.
Joe pushed the book?
Yeah, his life. Yeah, he wrote a book, or somebody wrote it, and then Bill, after him. But compared to Gotti and Capone, they were true press hounds. They loved it. And you and I have often discussed this, and we have it in our first book of the Mafia, it being a secret society.
Yeah.
You get yourself in more hot water by saying
going public. Hello.
That you might think is innocuous and doesn't mean anything, and 2 years later it comes back to bite you.
No, that's why in asking that question to you and I, after all the research you've done and all the life I've lived with the real people, they were under the radar. I mean, they were. O'Neill de la Croca probably was the toughest guy in the world. You knew nothing about him. O'Neill.
Exactly. That's the way it's supposed to be.
That's the way it's supposed to be. But then, all these, and everybody, as you know, one of the guys you wrote extensively about was Tony Spilatro.
Yeah.
He loved all of that. I mean, forget about it.
And it always winds up being their downfall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You figured you would learn from past history, but hey, this country hasn't learned from its past history. They keep on doing the same things over and over again wrong. But anyway, Travis, getting back to Travis, at the end of his rather lengthy email, he says he's starting a podcast. Who isn't? It's going to launch later this year called The Podfellas. I like that. Good name.
Right.
Anyway, he's inviting us to be on his show. And Travis, we would love to do that when you get
Yeah, we'll help you.
we'll help you out. And when you get up and running and operating, let us know. And simple as that. You tell us when you're gonna be operational. All right, next one. Gianni, if you listen to your podcast, I gather you are a man of deep faith. Can you speak a bit about the Vatican? I've read they're basically their own government with their own laws, currency, agendas, etc. This is not an attempt to disparage the Vatican. That just seems to be a veil of mystery to it. Love your podcast. Listen every Wednesday morning as I drive into the city. Best wishes to you and Patrick and Megan, wherever she is.
Yeah, that's great.
Tell us a little bit about the Vatican.
Well, the Vatican goes along way before, believe it or not, organized crime. They have been the secret society for the longest time. The Solidarity, most people don't even know. I am happened to be invited to the Solidarity 40 years ago.
And what is that?
That's the inner working of the Vatican. You have to be invited to it. You have to be a family member already into it. Like my great-grandfather was a Knight of Malta. He was the Knights. The Knights of Malta protect the private living space of the Pope.
Didn't know that.
I know most people don't know.
Well,
Below the catacomb, below the catacombs is the clubhouse of the Solidarity.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. Hope that answers your question, Chris. Next. This is from Michael. I enjoyed the podcast with Alan Geik. I am the grandson of Alfred Scotty Goldsman. He was an associate of George Gordon and Ruby Collard, spelled Kollod. My grandfather is on the cover of Alan's book. I would appreciate any information or recollections you might have regarding my grandfather, who died in 1963 when I was about 9 years old. I was very close to him, but so young I have very little information from the working days. I guess that he's referring to his working days. He was a very private person, and even Alan was not aware of who he was in the picture. Do you know anything about him?
No, nothing at all. Where did they live and grow up?
Well, if he was involved in Murder Inc., it had to be Brooklyn.
Oh, Murder Inc. I didn't hear that part. Oh, yeah, it had to be then. Yeah, Louis Buchholzer and Albert Anastasia.
Yeah, but some of these guys, if you listen to the last question.
Hello.
Yeah, they under the radar. In fact, Alan's uncle, George the Bug Workman, was one of the hired killers from Murder Inc. He kept a very low profile. I mean, he was arrested a couple of times for homicide, and he beat them all. Died in bed, 1973. Old man.
Yeah.
So there, it says something if you don't seek out notoriety, I guess. But we're sorry to say, we don't know Alfred Scotty Goldsman.
No. Well, that's like you said. It was long before our time. Murder Inc.
Yeah.
30s and 20s. Forget about them.
Okay. From Jeannie. We know Jeannie. Jeannie's a friend of the show.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, for those of you who have read our book, The Sixth Family, we use Jeannie's name in it. All right. So she asked if we could be in the book. You're in the book.
There you go.
All right.
It's like my good friend Oogie wanted to be in the book. He's in the book.
There you go. Yeah. Hello, my friends. I'm listening to your interview podcast. Gianni, you just mentioned how many people died during your stay in the hospital in the polio ward. I had forgotten the number of people that passed away. That is staggering. That must have been terrifying. I'm so sorry. Did you remain friends with any of the survivors?
No. Nope. You know why I didn't? I was making friends with them early. They probably missed out on an earlier podcast. I was making friends with these kids. Me being a kid myself, I wanted to have a friend in there. And then every day or every week, that friend I made friends with, he passed. So I got isolated and turned myself more into religion. And if you listen to our podcast, after December 12th, I don't think anybody in the world listened to a transistor radio more hours a day. And I still do. It's so crazy.
I find that to be quite common, and I could use myself as an example. You lost a lot of people when you were young, even though you didn't know them well, but you're a child, as part of the socialization process.
Right.
You want friends, you hunger for friends. And I've known you 5 years. You're a dear friend, and we're very close.
You're like my brother. You kidding? No,
But
man.
yeah, we are, and joined at the hip. But I can see within you, because I'm the same way. When I left Vietnam, when I came home, to this day, I'm very difficult to get close to. So are you.
Yeah.
So are you.
Oh no. Yeah. I rather one or two close people than 500 idiots.
Yeah. Who we like to call acquaintances.
Yeah, acquaintances.
No, but I see that. I see that in you because I see it in me.
Yeah.
And
I love solidarity. I love I love being alone.
Yeah, so do I. And I wasn't like that before the war.
Yeah, well, I can imagine.
Very social animal, and it's 55 years later, and I'm still the same. And it all comes from, you don't want to get, this is subconscious, of course, but I think, you and I are pretty bright. We figured it out. You don't want to get close to people because subconsciously you think you're going to lose them.
Yep.
That's it. It's as simple as that. Okay, on that happy note, thank you, Jeannie Raymond. From James. Patrick, since you live in Western PA, any chance you guys can do a show on the Pittsburgh crime family or Youngstown, which still may be mob run? I grew up north of Pittsburgh in the 90s and would.
But how do you get to Youngstown from Pittsburgh?
It's close.
Is it that? Oh, is it?
A couple hours, that's all.
Oh, well, that's what I'm saying. You got to take a plane or a car. I know a lot of people in Youngstown.
Hour and a half. Anyway, where was I? All right, I grew up in the 90s and would run into children or grandchildren of supposed mobsters, and remember gambling operations going back into business that eventually got busted. Do you know enough to do a show? Yeah, funny you should bring this up because I have a friend of mine who wrote a book. I don't know if Johnny will remember this, but he wrote a book about organized crime in southwestern Pennsylvania, which I thought was very good and very detailed. There's no organized crime around here anymore, but there used to be. What they have now is what I call disorganized crime.
I was going to say disorganized crime.
So it used to
for
be.
a long time.
Yeah, you can if you want to go into the Joker poker business or slot machines and put them in bars, you can do it here. Try doing that in New York.
Hello.
They'll cut your hands off.
Yeah.
You have to talk to people who may allow you to do it for a hefty cut of the profits. But to get back to the book, so I spoke to Gianni about this, and I told him, guy's a friend of mine, and I worked with him when I was teaching. And I said, what do you say we invite him on the show? You were agreeable. I said, this would be good. We can give an alternate view of organized crime outside of a big city. So I called him, and he said, this is why I'm not giving his name. He said, I really can't do that because since I published that book, which was about 7 years ago, he's been in and out of court getting sued by heirs of these gangsters that he mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
So he said, I don't want to, he says, I'm just winding up all these lawsuits and I don't want to resurrect them. I say, I get it, man.
Well, that's an interesting note because people ask you and I now, why are we writing novels? We were leaving ourselves open from the first book. Fortunately, everybody we spoke to, their heirs are not coming after me. I know them all.
But you still have to be careful,
and that's why now we find it a great relief. We talk about friends like we just talked about Augie and Jeannie and Tony Federici. These are friends of mine.
Yeah.
He basically gave me permission. I ain't worried about nowheres, but you got to be careful. Everybody wants to sue everybody today.
And also a slip of the tongue, perhaps, about some past indiscretions.
Hello.
You don't want that brought up, either do I.
No.
So anyway, we're in the novel business now, which still was a novel idea, pardon the bad pun. But, I can do some, there's a lot of remnants of organized crime. The families are still here, but they're just out of the business. But this was a very corrupt area.
Little Nicky and them, they're still very alive and breathing.
Yeah, but there's no organized crime as we know it. But I can do some research. I think it's a good idea for a show about how it used to be. And I said the remnants of organized crime left here probably in the early 80s, and it hasn't been any since. The families are here, but they're out of it. One has got a huge vineyard in the area. They're in the wine business. I don't want to mention their names, but yeah, okay, we'll consider that. I'll definitely look into it. But we're not going to have this guy on the show who wrote the book. Too bad, but he's not coming on. Yeah, he almost had a heart attack when I mentioned. He said, "What, am I getting sued again?" I said, No. We want you on the podcast." He said, "No, I'd like to do it." I said, "It'll sell books." He said, "Yeah, and I can use all that money and pay it to my lawyer because it's going to open up wounds." Anyway, moving on. This is from Lynette. Yeah, she's a frequent writer. Good morning. I always make sure I'm free on Wednesday morning so I can listen to your show and have done so since the beginning. Well, thank you, Lynette.
Wow. Thank you.
I wonder if this is a good question that's coming up here. I wonder if you have ever thought of having Rita Genovese on the show. I just listened to a talk she did and found it very interesting. And I remember you doing a show on her father. As always, keep up the excellence you bring to your podcast.
The Genovese family, we could never have on our family.
We can't do that.
No.
Okay.
The son's very active. That family is very, very active.
Yeah. I'm wondering why she did a podcast while she was a guest to begin with. Undoubtedly, she wrote a book. We're going to leave her alone?
Oh, yeah. Hello.
Okay. Moving along. But thank you, Lynette, for the question. Oh, and here's the next email. She provides the link to the interview, but it's best we don't, I suppose.
No. It's too close.
All right, do you have anything else we can tell our listeners?
Oh, yeah, I have a great thing. Anybody that's going to be in the California area, April 30th, I'm being honored at the Museum of Motion Pictures, Arts and Science. It's on Wilshire Boulevard in Lancashire. And I'm doing a tour of an exhibit of a movie I know very much about, The Godfather.
I heard of that movie.
Yeah, well, they're having a big exhibit. And more so, we're having our first Sunday annual dinner every Sunday at the museum in the restaurant called Fanny's, which sits about 200 people, very elegant. And they're doing the quarterly-owned dinner, family dinner every Sunday. If you want to sit and eat Clemenza's meat sauce, have some Genco olive oil, it's all our products. And it's a big honor. And we also had the honor, as Pat mentioned and I mentioned, we were in the gift bags for the Oscars this year, and that led us to this. So we're very thankful. It's open to the public. Just go on the site. In fact, you can go on Open Tables. They just opened it up to take reservations. It's Sunday, April 30th. So you got 2 weeks.
Good. Also, I would like to bring up the fact that we have a book. It's called The Sixth Family. Those of you who have forgotten, please look into it. We're considering writing a second one and batting around some ideas. And if you haven't already read it, go on Amazon. We got a bunch of good reviews, and we think you'll like it. You're gonna see things that you think you know, and maybe you don't. Maybe you do.
And we have a very avid writer and columnist who's currently reading our book.
Yes, who's going to?
She sent me a note. No, we could even say it. Look in Cindy Adams's column. She will be reviewing The Sixth Family for us.
Okay, Cindy Adams, for those of you who don't know, has been a columnist. I think she invented the word columnist. How long has she been doing this? 50 years, got to be.
Oh, right? Yeah. She's in I don't know how many newspapers. She could be in your local newspaper as a contributing columnist.
Cindy Adams. But if not, just go online. The New York Post is her flagship paper, and she'll have her column. She has a column in there, I think, 3 times a week. Yep. But she's been around for a long time. She was married to a pretty well-known comic back in the day named Joey Adams.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
He passed away a long time ago. But Cindy, she goes nonstop, and she likes mysteries and thrillers, and she heard about our book and said, I'm reading this, and she's going to do a little piece on it. So once again, The Sixth Family, available on Amazon. All right, my friend.
All right, my friend. I'm going to get back to recording, and as I promised you, I'll have this done tomorrow.
Thank you very much, and we shall be in touch. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
And that was that. But I'll be back.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hollywood Godfather podcast. You can contact Gianni Russo or Patrick Picciarelli with your questions and comments through the contact section of our website, HollywoodGodfatherPodcast.com, which is where you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter. You can also call and leave us a message at 646-776-3038. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Hollywood Godfather and on Facebook, as well as leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd like to know what you like about what we're doing, what you'd like to hear in the future, and anything else you might suggest to improve our podcast. Most importantly, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week with stories of the mob and Hollywood, as well as answers to your messages. Good night.
My kids still can't believe I sat with a saint. My life's like scenes out of a movie. I'm the Hollywood Godfather, truly. I got stories with them all. You know, celebrities, world leaders, icons. Who knows what's next for me? I'll never get too old to have a little fun. Come on, I'm Gianni Russo, a genuine one of a kind. What a ride it's been, this life of mine. And I ain't done yet. I'll be back. Until next time.
And that was that.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights on the village green. When I was 17, I didn't mind waiting